Hey everyone, welcome in Betsperts Golf for a little bit more Bay Hill 2026 Arnold Palmer Invitational. Florida Swing continues here. Pretty excited about this one. Andy, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm kind of mad. I have a hat for this one, and I left it at home. I have a very colorful Bay Hill hat. I'll wear it later in the week, I guess, and just
maybe. I think I've seen it before. Is it like it's got the?
It's got all the umbrellas.
Yeah,
okay. It's got a big P. It's a Puma. Either way, let's try to find another winner. Ryan, great job with the Echeverria.
Did you watch the golf? Did you watch?
I did watch the golf. It was I don't love to delve too deep into what happened last week because we are a forward-looking podcast. No, I know. Jesus Christ, Shane. Sometimes that shit happens. It's like a fat Van de Velde. The water is lurking out there, and things like that could happen this week as well. We're still in Florida. We're in Florida for the duration of the month, and high water danger this week. Obviously, Sawgrass has some water next week.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a few balls in the water there as well. So gird your loins, even if you have someone who's trading at like minus 3,000 live. Real quick question off the top from Matty D that came in before we even went live. 20 minutes ago. Thoughts on the DK stuff? I'm assuming someone is going to get fired because they're really. I don't know if it's someone live doing this or if it's some bad code where they're having, a lot of books will have auto movers where if they take bets, they'll move things. If they need to reshuffle, they'll move lines. And my only advice to that would be if you take a shot, understand you're taking a shot. Some of these times where there's a
angle
clear
shooting.
Yeah, when there's a clear angle where you're at a huge advantage. What sportsbooks don't love? When you're at a huge advantage. So if there is something where you're at a huge advantage, you kind of gotta think about it. Should I do it? How much do I value this account? If they got mad at me and says, "Yeah, you just can't bet here anymore," we'll pay you, but you can't bet here anymore. So either make it worth your while, do it small as just a lark, or don't do it at all. But I haven't heard of anybody that's really gotten, slapped on the hand, I guess, yet. It's if you offer the lines, so there are some T's and C's where they say, hey, if it's a palpable error, we can just take your money back. So you're not ever at a great advantage. It feels like. So take them and get them.
They didn't do anything with the outright thing last week.
No.
Which is kind of wild.
Curious, yeah.
This today, if you missed it, and again, look, we can toot our horn for many of the things that we have available at Betsperts Golf. Our Discord, we have a feature where we have pricing errors in our Discord, and we have very active subscribers, and some subscribers this morning caught some pricing errors in the finishing position market that are significantly off market, right? And don't make it a habit of personally, I've got slapped in the hand. Don't make it a habit of berating any books publicly on air, especially ones that we have open partnerships with. I don't bet on the book in discussion because I cannot bet on the book. So I'm locked out of the opportunities. But at the same time, Andy's right. You do have to make a decision on is the juice worth the squeeze? Is this a book that you value? Does it take a lot of your action? Are you not limited for whatever you need to get down on? You do open yourself up, even though you might be able to cash that bet. You do open yourself up account wise to be monitored, limited in the future, and you just kind of have to weigh the balance. Now, with the people last week that were betting 5 to win, 5 figures, then you're probably within your range of that's of value to you.
Yeah, that's one of those. Well, they shut me down, but maybe I'm a $20 bettor anyway, and cashing $5,000 from a book is well worth it for them to shut you down. So yeah, it's a kind of a personal thing, but yeah, keep an eye out. And kind of on the same vein, for some of you guys who don't bet at a lot of books, Jesus, add some more books. I mean, that is, I think, one of the biggest advantages, especially in outright betting, but even in matchups and other things, is just
for sure.
I mean, you're seeing a lot of it in some of the people that are posting about conference tournaments for basketball. That's always been a huge one too, where it's like, that's tougher for pricing because it's not something, a lot of these books have to worry about all year long. And then the conference tournament rolls around, they need to put prices up. And it's a tough market because of the brackets are goofy and the tournaments are funny. And are these home events or are they on the road and what kind of rest they're going to have? And it becomes a little trickier of a calculus. And some books do a much better job of that where, there's huge differences in price. So same thing in golf, have as many outs as you can, shop as many outs as you can, try to find the best prices. Nothing feels worse than cashing at a bad price. Like it's basically like, how much did you bet on that winner? Not enough. It's the same thing like that, except it's avoidable because, hey, what was your price on that winner? 50 to 1. Oh, I thought it was 80 at this other book. Yeah, I was too lazy to open another tab.
Unacceptable. Yeah, please do not do that. And for any market, right? Like, and books making mistakes, and like they're not even like egregious mistakes like we're talking about here off the top, but like just their pricing algorithm is off. Like there's one book that routinely has significantly better openers for finishing position bets than everyone else. 2 weeks ago, what was Pebble? Rory was like minus 2.25 everywhere for like a top 20 bet. This book had him at minus 120. It's 100 points. So like these things matter, and just having the ability to line shop and get down on it quick without having to move funds around. These things are really important. And again, if you're trying to do this, even I wouldn't even say to scale, just even casually enough to be watching the show on a Tuesday morning or listening to it on podcast form on a Tuesday night, you care enough. Just don't limit yourself to one book. That goes for any sport. Please keep your options open, shop around, take the time to do so. It matters a ton. So betting stuff at the top. There we go. So,
yeah, I mean, even minus 200 is like, what's that? You need to know your decimal odds to do a lot of this math, but the difference between minus 120 and minus 200 is bigger than it looks like on paper. I mean, it's implying like a 53% compare or 52% to like 66, implied win probabilities. It's a pretty sizable one. So,
yeah,
but yeah, let's dig in a little to the current one. And I've been doing this more where I take my notes and I update them and I start to dig in on what matters and I build my models and I look at everyone else's models. And I've done it again where I jotted down some things I wanted to ask you because I didn't, again, I'm busy week, didn't catch the show yesterday. Obviously I read your stuff. Eventually I read Ron's preview, but for the most part, I've just updated my notes. I built my model based on what I did last time or what I think matters here. I've looked at some other models and I've got a bit of an outline of a plan. I've got 4 guys highlighted.
Concepts of a plan
yet. But yeah, I mean, point 1 is just, it's Bay Hill. It's tough. I think that's maybe understated though. You can, there's tournaments like this and you look at the length of this, 7,400. It's not Mexico. It's not, hey, let's chase some bombers. And it's not a week where we can just chase a streaky hot hand. It is, again, it's long approach. It's course history kind of matters here. And
it does,
when the course is punishing like this, does it just turn your head towards, I need to back elite players? Or on the other hand, is there enough chaos where you're like, I could go down the board a ways? There's a kind of, I think in my opinion, it's a horse, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. And, the same thing too goes with the long approach. And with, I think it was 30+% of the approaches coming from 200 yard plus. Does that have you just crossing a few guys off the list immediately?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think it is a top of the board week. It's been kind of the trend here historically. Now, yes, there's a Kurt Kitayama outlier in there. I don't want to say he's in that, ascended tier of an elite golfer, but he's definitely in a different spot, world ranking wise and, just caliber of golfer wise since the win. We also have the situation which we've had, as we've kind of relayed the last few weeks too, where we have a place that would routinely get a pretty strong field because it was Arnie's event and players would play here. But now we have a signature event field again. So, the strength of field that's coming here is stronger. you get everybody, right? So leaderboards here in the past have always been not just the winner, but like top of the board. So for me, it definitely is a top of the board week. Typically, it sets up as a faux major championship type setup, right? Like it's typically, especially if the wins get kicking, you have a mid to low single digit winner. You have a couple of benign win years where you can get into the, low to mid teens, or like Scottie ran away and got super hot on Sunday a couple years ago and got up to 15, but I think he was the only guy in double digits. Maybe Wyndham Clark was at like 9 or 10, but like for the most part, you're having single digit under par win, scoring conditions above par, cut above par. This is a small field, 72-man signature event field. It is one with a cut though, 50 in ties, and then with 10 within 10 shots the lead. Yeah. So for me, I don't say crossing guys off in terms of like the longer approach stuff, because think about the battle we had here last year, right? Like we had Coco, Morikawa, and Henley, right? And like not bombers, definitely positional off the tee. So there, kind of any styles in play if you're an elite golfer. So the names I essentially would cross off would be down the board, because I feel it's a spot where course history matters a ton, and we have elite course history with the top two players in the field. It's tough.
Let's kind of switch to that, because that's something else I wrote down with the course history. It depends on how you splay the math out, but a lot of places say it's like second or third most predictive course. And I mean, the data does back that up as far as how you played here. Course history is tough because it's a bit fugazi at a lot of places, especially at places where, hey, we went under a big change in this course and it went under a renovation, a reconstruction, or this event was always this type of field and now it's this type of field. Makes it harder. But Bay Hill has always been, a decent field, a tough test. Not a lot of changes. It is what it is. And course history has been, similar to 2 weeks ago. I think Ron it was 17 of the past 20 had at least 3 starts here. 6 of the last 7 had a previous top 15 finish. And it is a course history. I did use in my model the nice little button on the rabbit hole where you can click comp courses. I did use comp course stuff where I loaded them and just looked at last 2 years on comp courses as a bit of a who's been the lead on this type of thing. So I get it does kind of turn into the, course history versus form. And again, I think you lean on the elite stuff, but when course history is this predictive, how do you balance it against the current form? Are you, again, hey, I have 2 guys, they're similar prices. One's playing a lot better, but one's played really well here. Are you always just deferring to that because the hot hand stuff doesn't seem to really play into coming into this one?
Yeah, I think it's always a blend, right? Like tiebreaker, right? We'd love to see that you're coming in with form.
I like that tiebreaker. Yeah,
right. Like it's not a place that you're going to come and find your form. If you're not playing really good golf and you have great course history here, it's hard to fake it around this place. Just the demands of all the requirements, carrying water. You mentioned 7,400 and change, stock par 72. Plays even longer than that. And especially, again, if we do have the wind predicament where that gets a little bit wonky, are we expecting wind from the chat? I don't know. Again, 48 hours out. I don't want to get, too bogged down in it. It's always a situation, right? It's Florida in March. The probability of, scattered thunderstorms and wind at some point are high. But yeah, I mean, the demand of these tee shots, force carries, you have 4 par 3s that are also sucking up a ton of that 200 plus, right? Like I think they're all in like the 215 to 235 range. Like, can't really fake it with those shots. Those aren't wedges for these guys. So, and these are very, very, very firm and fast greens. And that's part of why I think that's part of why course history matters, is being able to understand where your landing spots are, when pin hunting is available, and when just center the green or just off the green is going to be okay, because like par is a good score on this hole, and I think that's why course history matters.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to the quote I can never forget about Augusta is like you don't read the greens, you remember the greens. And obviously different types of greens here. Obviously the size and the speed are Augusta runs pretty quick too. I guess maybe not all that different, but more of the positional part of it. Whenever you run into a tough course that's more positional, it seems like that lends itself to course history mattering because you've played a lot here. You understand not everybody needs to play it the same. It's not one of those boring courses where here's the spot you have to hit it. Like everybody can do it differently based on the shot types they have in their bag and what they think they're elite at. But there are definitely spots where, you're out of position. And it's not always the rough, although most of the quotes about the rough are, hey, it's bad. It's a half shot penalties, was one of the quotes basically at this point because it is so thick. So, the positional golf gets me thinking about that with the course history. And I did lean on that, not only course history, but comp course stuff. I love this. This guy went and found the emojis with the right colors. Matt with the, it's his favorite event. It's one of my favorite non-majors, I think for sure. I do like this one quite a bit. It's just a really fun setup. The next 2 weeks are great for Florida. And then also, you appreciate the comments, but if you guys aren't subscribed, I'm going to ask if you can hit that button and the like button. Hit all the buttons, please. That helps us out quite a bit. So appreciate you all being here with the chat. And what you said earlier is kind of the segue into the next note I had was kind of the par 3, par 5 stuff. And I know a big chunk of the course is par 4s. That's how life works. But, the quotes from Rory, the quotes from other people, and the distances on the par 5s. Did you use any of that in any of your modeling? I know it's tough it feels super granular getting in on that, but basically, Rory said it about Tiger. He's like, hey, he played conservative, which keeps you out of trouble. And then he just scored on all the par 5s. And that's one way to win this event. And as you mentioned too, the par 5s and the par 3s, they're going to pull the scoring in opposite directions.
Right.
You have to score on the par 5s and you cannot screw up these 3s. You can't have 4s and 5s. You got to just go out there. And as you mentioned, it's right back to that point one of long irons, 200 plus, all of the, all the par 3s. I think averages 216 was with your par 3s. There's no 145 in. There's no, hey, we're going to use the up tee box and have a close pin. This is all really long carries. Some of them with carries over water. You mentioned there's some of those wind. You have out of bounds on what is it, the 18th? I think it's water right, out of bounds left. There's a bunch of really scary par 3s too. Did you look at any of that as far as it's tough because you look at par 3 scoring and it's going to include, everything. Par 3s at some of these events. So I'm saying, like, how much of a sample size can you get if you go, hey, let's go high water danger par 3s or scoring difficult par 3s? I think maybe that's the only one I would look at would be going into the filters on the rabbit hole and picking like par 3 efficiency or par 3s or scoring is tough and look at a 2 or 3 year sample, see how people played when they know, obviously they've played the course, their caddies walked the course, they've done practice rounds. They know the 3s are tough. They know what the game plan is, and it's stay out of trouble. And, how some of these guys have done in events like that where the game plan is not to pin seek on these. It's just not to screw it up and give away the strokes you've gained on the 5s.
It's a good call. I did look at it. I did look at, a little bit of the par 3 strokes gains. These are new metrics that we have in the par 3, par 4, par 5 efficiency. Instead of just the, proximity, we now have, you can get obviously birdie or better rates, average scores, just strokes gained on par 3s, but then you can also look at them through the proximity buckets too, if you desire. I put on difficult par 3 scoring over the last 18 months, decent-ish sample, I guess. This is not what I put in my model, but as you were talking about it, I wanted to look at it and see if it speaks to anything. It's going to mix in, this is not filtering out for overall difficult scoring conditions or tougher courses per se, but Pisasune, Patrick Rogers, BG, Siwoo popping there too. We see, Scottie's in here, Hovland's in here, Henley, obviously your defending champ. So that bodes well for those guys. It is kind of a hold your your ass situation on the par threes, right? Just if you can get away, par's a really good score. Let's see who's struggling here in this sample. Not good for Harman.
Not good. And Justin Thomas, not only struggling in this sample size of longer par threes when they're tough, but that guy's coming off an injury. I think he's a sneaky one for, people are going to find a million reasons not to play him. And I'm not saying for betting, but if you're in a bigger contest, DFS, he's probably going to be under-owned as far as,
Sanjay's back too.
Getting a weird one because, there's nothing but negative swirling around JT right now. And I think he's going to be he probably has a bad event, but in the case, in that edge case where he plays really well and he actually did wait enough and he's fully healthy, I think he's probably going to be a little under-owned.
Yeah, I think he and Sanjay are definitely unique. She's got a really nice course history here, but was playing pretty terrible golf for the majority of last year. He got himself into the Tour Championship because he just plays every week. Saying good for him. So
volume.
This is one way you can look at it. But yeah, I didn't do anything with the par 5 scoring. I understand it. I think you go back to
I think it goes hand in hand with. I'm sure you used a lot of ball striking in your model.
I did.
And here's the thing: it's double counting at that point. If you're an elite ball striker with distance and accuracy, you're scoring on the par 5s. That's just how life works.
Yeah.
Oh, you're ripping it 320 down the middle. Well, here's your 180 in, and you're probably going to have an eagle putt, even if it's 50 feet. And guess what? You got 3 birdies this round on the 5s. It is some double counting at that point because I use driving accuracy. I use good drives. I used a bunch of approach, and it's just so correlated with scoring on the 5s where, you're a bomber who's accurate. You have high marks in all of these driving these driving metrics. And then of course, obviously the approach is good too. You're just going to score. So I didn't use any either. It's just kind of I don't know, maybe it is what you did as well, where it's kind of the opposite, where you look at who can't score on par 5s.
Yeah.
And there are some people that probably just need to be crossed off, or, if you were looking at them for your DFS pool, maybe you need to have some second thoughts about it because it isn't happening if you can't make it up on those.
I didn't model this, but I did look at this. This is again, another new view that we have here with approach scoring opportunities. Looking at, the expectation that we should be inside 10 feet from 200 plus is wrong. Right? It's like if you leave yourself, a birdie or better look from inside 15 feet from 200 plus yards out, I think that's the answer to the test this week. And I think you're putting yourself in pretty good position. Now, obviously you have to close, and that's a struggle for some of the guys on the list here, but you look at the last 18 months, these are the best giving yourself scoring opportunities from inside 15 feet from 200 plus yards out. So Siwoo playing really good golf. Lowry's got great course history here. Obviously check some boxes here in terms of fits. That's a strokes gain mental warfare. That is not for me.
I don't know where his mind's at. I'm guessing he drank.
Sure. We had an early tee time at the Seminole pro member yesterday. So I don't know. Not sure how much he got down. He had an 8:30 tee time. At least he didn't play TGL. But man, it's tricky. This bodes well for him. It's good for Akshay, Decky, mentioned Sanjay, more.
Akshay is a name I did look at. I don't know that I can get to him here.
I know.
If I did play Akshay, it'd probably be positional stuff, top 10, top 20. I like him, and he really flashed in a few things for me. I don't know that I can bet him to win this field.
Kind of agree. Finishing position, DFS, fine.
Yeah.
Win a little bit trickier for sure. This is good Colin stuff. I mean, painted green across the board, which we would expect, right? Like Colin stuff. Even last year with the putting struggles, the rest of the game was really solid. Ball striking is trending up even off of his baseline. So that's really good. So this to me is something that I'd rather look at than getting super granular in all the par 3 stuff. But I think the par 3 stuff is relevant. If you can avoid, you can get out with like And even for the week on the par threes, you're probably in contention. Yeah, Ludwig, Foxy, here's Henley. Again, not planting darts inside 5 feet, but like giving yourself opportunities, which is all you got to do. So I think that's a great. These metrics are awesome.
I've enjoyed looking at those.
I mean, you can go into, especially with course history here. I can literally just look at Bay Hill and get a sense of like, because we get the total shot distribution, you could see, okay, how much should I be weighing this range for this player based off of their historical distribution at this course? Like, that's, I think, pretty relevant, pretty granular, but at the same time, like when we have these weeks where course history matters, I think it is useful to look at. So, Fitz is going to be popular this week. Good course history. Putts well here. Not been putting well, but putts well on fast Bermuda. So that matters quite a bit here too. So,
alluding to you're really good at the segues. You're not doing it on purpose, and I guess maybe I'm really good at the segues because I'm pulling one thing you said out of 100 and moving on to the next thing. But the Shane Lowry stuff, the chaos, the possibility that the weather report isn't correct because it's Tuesday morning. And we could have some wind. We could have some nasty weather. We saw that with, Scottie and McIlroy a few years back. We've seen, good golfers have big numbers here. We've seen leaders fall. We've seen comebacks. We saw it last week. I mean, Florida golf does kind of lend itself to blow-ups and, guys who are able to win by attrition simply by not blowing up. I don't want to know who you all bet yet. I haven't looked yet, but are you thinking maybe this is a week to go a little smaller on the outrights and keep a little change in your pocket for some live betting because of the opportunities that the weekend might afford? Or just saying, I'm not saving anything, but if the opportunities are there, I'm just going to wager more this week because there are live betting spots. I mean, you've seen it last week. You've seen it here. It's just it's one of those courses where I think you can find some stuff to be betting once we get to the weekend.
It's a great point. I think Florida, as you kind of touched on at the top, invites that more than any other, swing that we have on tour because there's so much water. They do a good job, and really all the Florida courses have these really exciting finishing stretches. We have it at, Innisbrook. We have it obviously at the Players. We had it last week. We have it here. A lot of just risk reward shots, a lot of water in play. It naturally invites a lot of variance. Last week was always a week that I did it. So last week was the first time that I had, like, from my allocation of funds, a full card pre-flop. I don't typically do that at PGA National. I leave a lot of room for some wiggle. I like some of the prices, so I got down. But I think it's a good week for it. I think, if you want to swim a little bit further down the board and not at the top, build out kind of a normal type card and then see if you can get one of the favorites at a larger number with a slow start. I think that would make a ton of sense as well. You risk at times, like if you really like Rory or Scottie this week and they get off to a hot start, well, then you're done. You're not necessarily done, but like your opportunity to get in on them is gone. But I understand why someone would do that this week because, like you said, there's water everywhere. There's opportunity for blow-ups. A lot of double bogeys and bogeys out here if you're not striking it well.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned it. Let's talk about the top of the field, the top of the market. It's like three and change for Scheffler, McIlroy 9 or 10. Both obviously have had some decent history here. Both are. I mean, it's silly to even. They check all the boxes, obviously, because it's Scottie and Rory, and that's how it works. Scottie, a little bit of a snafu here and there, especially with the irons at times. Obviously,
I mean, look, I'll show you this. I tweeted this out yesterday.
You brought it up, and you made a video about this. The ball striking kind of coming in spurts here and there, and when it's great, it's great. And he could absolutely just, if he took the week off and he figured it out, he could just run away with this one.
Correct.
It's a 72-man field, which it's a lot easier to bite the bullet on like a 3.5 to 1 when it is a smaller field. It's going to get smaller by the weekend. But I mean, are you considering either of the top guys, or is it I need to I need to find an elite guy in the next 10 names.
I did,
or both.
Yeah, just Scottie Rory. I mean, it's like 2-1. It's Scottie Rory versus the field. You take the field.
Oh no, when I said both, I mean picking if you like Rory, betting him, and then finding a couple other guys that you think have, form fit and function to get it done here.
Yeah, it's real quick. I'm going to show you. This is just 2026. So it's a relatively small sample, but this is just, and again, this could flip tomorrow. Or Thursday right away. There's just a lot of red for Scottie relative to the field. He's giving himself fewer looks than normal, right? So there's, Rory's giving himself, opportunities inside 200 feet or 200 yards, 15 feet, 12.5%. Scottie 4.1. That is not Scottie.
It's hard for some people to accept isn't the right word, but even to see this, I think, because
I have a hard time.
What's the biggest thing we can say about Scottie versus Scottie in the past? His putting is not a problem over the last couple of years. It's fixed.
He's really good putter.
But if something else falls off because of how the closed loop system that is hitting the ball from the tee to the hole, if the approaches drop just a little bit, 20% worse approach, and you're not getting the opportunities to putt well because you're not giving yourself all the shots you did, have in the past, and then your putting was making up for it and making all those, you're just not going to score like you did. And it's funny how he still puts himself in position with a couple of rounds here and there with one bad round. But I'm right there with you. The putting is a lot better, but if you're not giving yourself good looks at the hole when you get on the green, then it doesn't matter. And you're going to, you're just going to be a measly top 10 player at that point.
Yeah. It's again, alarming just for his baseline. And again, would not be surprised at all. We had this last year. We didn't win for a while until we got to Quail Hollow for the PGA, and then, still ends up winning 5-6 times of the year. So I'm not worried about the sky falling here, but this speaks to this, Thursday struggles and just why he's not been as dominant. He's relying, the putter's having to do too much work. He's just not giving himself as many good looks, and Rory's doubling him up in some of these categories, which is, unusual, because Rory, sometimes his iron game and wedge game is so much, improved over the last couple of years, but he's not really Scottie's tier. Scottie's definitely in his own tier. And so far he hasn't been. So I bet Rory 11-1. I took the 5 position each way as well, based off of his course history. So obviously a little expensive, but gives me outs for him to, more than cover the rest of the outrights and have a profitable week if he top 5s and does not win. So I took Rory at 11. There was enhanced at 12, but I like the each way option with him here too. So I went each way, given his, I don't know, just the history, as we touched on at the top. He's hasn't won here since I think 18, but man, he is very, very often. Here we go. 18 wins, T6, T5, T10, T13, T2. He comes here all the time, and he's just late Sunday tee times often. So I like his form. His ball striking's been awesome to start the year. Just had a couple of blow up rounds, and a bad round at Pebble with a double and a triple. Had one bad round at the Genesis putting wise. Otherwise, he's been really great.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've looked strongly at him. He'd be my play here. He's the top guy on my list. I've looked at him. And, if you can get a 10-1 on Rory at a place like this in a small field, I'm willing to forgive some of the other stuff too. And if Scottie just figures it out, I guess such is life. But he'd be the play between the two of them. I'm much more comfortable betting Scottie when I've seen it. I've seen him put it all together. And, I'd pay if he was playing really well and his approach hadn't somehow gotten a little hitch in the giddy up over the last month, I'd play him at plus 250, such as
Agreed.
life, playing a bad number, but not a bad number, but a low number, a small number. Whereas I think Rory's a lot closer. I made this case a few weeks ago, and he had a few blow up holes that cost me that obviously he didn't get there, but I will most likely be on him. And then it kind of turns into the folks in the middle and how far you want to go down, because then you end up with Tommy, Fitzpatrick, Xander, Colin, Siwoo, I guess, is right in that range. And, those are some of the guys I wanted to bring up, because I looked a lot at Tommy Fleetwood as far as I don't know what I want to call it, a mid-range play, because he's only 20-1, but he is pretty consensus in a lot of the models. He's pretty consensus in the stats that matter. He's a guy that's absolutely going to score on these par fives. He checks a lot of boxes, and he's not a loser anymore. He's a guy who's won on tour. It's
True.
it's tougher to bet. It's easier to pull the trigger on Tommy now that you're not fighting that monkey off his back. But 20-1 it's a tough pill to swallow. I have him circled. Obviously, I have Siwoo circled as well, but it's another one where, hey, it's been great form. Let's see you do it here. Let's see you win, rather than just be a guy who's constantly, with the pack, with the peloton, with the leaders. And I think maybe Siwoo Kim is another one who falls into the Akshay bunch for me. Obviously, his price is much different. It's be much more expensive, and I do think it'll be more of a top 10 for Siwoo Kim rather than outright. So I kind of like, if I play Scottie and Tommy, or excuse me, Rory and Tommy at 10 and 20. It's bigger bets because they're smaller numbers, and then it doesn't leave you a lot to work with. I know Ludwig has been very popular this week. If you can find a 50 on him, that's very interesting still. I was saying this to Cal in the chat earlier. If they went and built a robot with the skills that are perfect for this course, it would be Ludwig Hebert when he was playing his best. And there couldn't be a guy that has the skill set more tailored for this course. But you do the Moneyball meme where Jonah Hill's pointing at the chalkboard or grease board, and he says, the only problem is he sucks ass in 2026 and he's forgotten how to golf. And, it's not something that's easy to grab. You're catching a falling knife here, but man, he's a big number for someone who, if he has worked out a few kinks, he's so perfect here. So Hebert probably going to be a bet for me as well. And then I looked at Corey Connors as kind of a longer one. I don't know if that's something you looked at all. I don't think we're getting a triple-digit winner home here, but considering his skill set, that's a bad price. And I'm gonna, I say, well, I can't bet Akshay to win. I can't bet Siwoo, who's like 28 and has almost won some events. I can't bet them. But you're gonna bet Corey Connors? I think it's more of the price is just way wrong, and I will be adding like a top 20 price to him as well, because it's like 115. Yeah. And you want a ball striker who can do it all here, and give me the Canadian.
I've thoughts on these guys for sure. So Connors, we'll start with Connors. He's lost on approach in 3 straight starts.
Yeah.
The last time he lost on approach in 3 straight starts, he wasn't even on the tour. You have to go back to literally one start in 2015, one start in 2016, one start in 2017. He was still on the Latin starts. He was on the PGA tours of America. He was not this PGA.
No, it's
tour
very out of character. And that's a big driver of why his price is so bad.
1,000% baked into the price for sure. His worst finish of the past 5 APIs, T21. 2 of those 5 were solo thirds, including last year. That's the scales of justice here. It's the thing I'm using that his strength has gotten a lot worse lately compared to his baseline, but his course history here is real good. And if he figures it out, that's an obscene number, and he should be in the running for this one. Totally agree. So I don't hate it at all. I think he's more of a pretty interesting DFS play.
That's a good
because
call.
he's super cheap, and people might just look at recent form. They like to open up the cards, look at how he's done lately. It's not great, move on. Whereas I think you can leverage some of the doubt. To your point, 2026 has not been great for Ludwig. I will say he did gain 2.8 strokes on approach his last 3 rounds at Riv, which is our last 3 times we saw him. If you go back 2024, 2025, scoring opportunities from 200 plus, it's Kurt Kitayama, Shane Lowry, and Ludwig, right? Great course history and a previous winner here. So it tracks. I didn't realize until after I had done it last year at this event. I bet 2 guys. I bet Rory and Ludwig. I went and looked to add my bets to the tracker for this year for myself. And I'm like, what did I do here last year? Oh, I bet Rory and Ludwig. I got better numbers this year. I got a 50, as you called out, for Ludwig. And that's it. It's my card. It's 2-man. Going with the big Swede, and hopefully he can bottle a little bit of that. Like you said, it's just when we kind of saw him come up, you just had to just say to yourself, okay, these are the starts, almost regardless of his form, that I'm going to bet Ludwig. When he goes to Torrey Pines South, I got to bet him. When he goes to Bay Hill, I have to bet him. He feels like he's making the case that, like, when he goes to Augusta, we kind of have to bet him. Like, he just kind of shows up, and when he can grip it and rip it, and long approaches are the thing. He putts way above his baseline on fast greens. It's a pretty mediocre putter, but we have a pretty large sample of fast green putting. He's top 10 in the field, and we have that this week too. So those are my 2 bets. That's all I have on the outright card is Rory and Ludwig because of those prices.
And then a couple people, including Flash, want to talk Sepp. It's a name that popped up for me as well. Maybe more of a, if you're looking for a tournament upside lineup construction for DFS, I think Sepp has to be in a bunch of those. He's probably going to be a little popular, I guess. I don't think it's going to be super overweight, but he's definitely somebody that's in my DFS pools. I don't know that I've bet him yet, or I've looked at him to bet. I don't know if you want to pull up some of his metrics.
He's been awesome. I have made one. I played it on. I
mean, he's got an Austrian flag, but he's from this part of the country, man.
He lives in Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean,
he went to Georgia. I bet Sepp at the players. I have one players bet that I made. Felt like there's an off-market 80 at FanDuel over the weekend. Took a little bit of that. They had a boost. Used a little bit of it to get 100. So I have a kind of a mix of, 80 and 100 on Sepp next week. And I kind of like that setup more for him because it's a little bit more, less than driver here. It's kind of like right around average. But next week there's just more wedges, and that's better for Sepp's setup than some of the longer stuff. You can see even here, just kind of get him in the longer stuff. He's still good. He's still better than the field average, but I like when he's got to kind of have a wedge in hand. So don't mind him this week, but I'm not trying to jam him. And look, Pebble, wedges, T2. It's just that boat's better for him. Truist was a wedge, a lot more wedges than we were expecting. Lowry, JT, Sepp, those are wedge guys. So yeah, T5 here last year makes sense. Lost off the tee, gain on approach. But again, he was rolling in with insane form last year, right? The win, just continue to keep it moving. Genesis wasn't a big thing for him. Genesis was, again, that was at Torrey South, which is
different Genesis, guys.
Right. So, and then, past winner at PGA National, good showing there. So he was just in great form here last year. So don't love Sepp, don't mind Sepp.
I was trying to think what he won. And that's why I couldn't think of it because it has a stupid name, but he won Wells Fargo last year.
Yeah.
Which is the truest now.
And the MX. I was on both of those. Big Sepp fan. I've not bet him outright, I don't think, since. So get that player's bet in, people. I'm going to tell myself as a Sepp whisperer. I feel like it's a good look for him next week.
That's the toughest part.
I think I was on him here.
That's the tough part for me too, with a lack of legal books. It's not something that's really prevalent in the outright markets for offshores is
Futures.
look ahead futures. Basically, a few will have Masters and a couple other majors, but getting ahead on even a bigger event like the Players. If you want to look at it, and especially maybe we should pivot a little to one and done. The Players is B or 1A. The majors are 1, but there's some signature events that pay more to the first place winner than your winner at like Augusta. I think that's 3.6 for the most part. At some of the most of the majors are like 3.6, and there's a couple of these signature events that pay $4 million, and the Players has a $25 million purse compared to 20 at most of the signature and what do you call them? Signature and majors. What do you call them? Majors, Andy. But so it's almost like the majors and signature events are B events compared to the Players as far as money wise. There's so much money next week. You kind of got to nail it next week. And this is another one too you do have to nail. And I think, what was our main thesis here was stick towards the top of the board. Obviously, you can always take some value if you think that's there in some long shots. One and done isn't a long shot game, especially when there's a big purse like this. I don't think there's more than like 5 names you want to use here. And the 2 guys at the top are definitely in play. If you really like, Sander, if you really like Tommy, if you really like, I don't know how many more guys there are. Morikawa. Now that he's kind of sorted things out, Colin
Fitz is probably the last I would consider, and it feels cute.
Yeah, and past that, there's a few names that are extremely cute. If you like Ludwig Abear this week, you bet him to win the event.
Yeah, I agree.
In one and done, you're not trying to guess and catch knives. You can do that at a smaller event and take a longer name and try to be really unique if you have a really strong intuition on someone, but it's not the week for that. Cam Young, same thing. Shane Lowry, great fit here, but where's his head at? And there's better names. So I don't know that there's more than 5 or 6 names that you can really strongly consider for one and done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to get burned by Cam Young. It hasn't been some of his longer iron stuff's not great, and his fast putting stuff is.
I know. I thought I was going to like him a lot here, and obviously TFS probably, but I can't bet him at this price.
Yeah. Flash in the chat wants to look at Rose. Hard to argue with Rose. He doesn't typically model very well because there's just a lot of like up and down stuff. But man, the ups are. He's like this is going to totally undercut who Justin Rose is historically. He's like a very, very elite Nico Echeverria, right? Like Nico, as he's like just insane, like win top 5, miss a bunch of cuts. Rosie's not doing that, but like Rosie's profile is a little bit bumpy comparatively. Obviously, considering the class of player he's technically ranked top 5 in the world still at 45 as a fellow 45-year-old. It's really encouraging. I know it's tough, Andy. We'll see if I can bank that next week, but I am not expecting to come out of that with a world ranking. But look, Genesis wasn't great. Pebble was awesome at Farmers. And we just talked about Torrey South. He's, the FedEx tough competition. I can't ever put my finger on him. He's never going to model well for us because there's just a lot of red randomly in here. But like, if you just got a feeling on Justin Rose, I get it. Let's look specifically here. And T8 here last year, a string of missed cuts, WD in here as well. You go back into, earlier stuff and played pretty well too. So yeah, that's a fair one.
Knapp is one. Link brings us up. Link might be hosting the show next week while you're down in Florida.
Yeah, I'll tune in for that.
Knapp is another one where, hey, if you use long-term form, he's not going to model very well. If you're using long-term SG data, it's going to say he has a terrible price. So say this guy should be a lot longer. Not only a bad bet, but a fade in DFS, in betting, in matchups. But if you look at recent form, which again, we had the argument, how much does that matter here? We don't have a lot of history of him playing basically anywhere yet. He's still a young man. His recent form is fixing what was wrong with him. We talk about if Scottie gets it right with the irons. That's right. A lot of what drug Knapp down was some of the irons and long iron stuff, and it's been better. And again, I don't know that I can bet him at this price either way, but I think he's a strong DFS play and maybe even a positional bet for sure.
Yeah, I mean, the argument was pretty clear a couple of weeks ago. It was like, oh man, the putter is doing just all the work here. And it was a little bit like right here, we came out of, Sony and Farmers, like losing on approach. The putter's doing all this stuff. But then like the last 3 weeks, strong fields, good golf, good tough golf courses, different golf courses, gaining consistently with ball striking, gaining consistently on approach. Feels real. I mean, again, small sample, but I mean, this is a nice string of golf on, again, very unique setups, right? It just feels like a guy who found something, which is insane when we consider the offseason he had, right? Like elephant in the room. Yeah. Like this is wild. Like I was nervous about him in best ball because I was like, what's going on between his ears? His girlfriend passed away. So pretty wild and impressive. He probably as a coping mechanism locked himself in and just got dialed in. It seems to be working out for him professionally. So kudos to Jake Knapp. This feels, encouraging, unless, I guess this putting stuff was making me nervous earlier when we were kind of getting into, waste management. And everyone's like, hey, look at these back-to-back great starts. And it's like, he's losing on approach. I don't know that I want that heading to Phoenix. And he was dialed again. So yeah, DFS for sure. I guess maybe if you want to sprinkle, finishing position bet, I don't know if that's an outright, like this would be a huge win, right? Like this is,
I think if I looked at my model and probably a lot of other people's models, there's nobody's model on here that's going to be like, hey, I'm just looking at the last 4 weeks and that's it.
Sure.
So if you pull up a random expert model, Knapp's not going to model well. He's going to be mid to low. Yeah, he's going to be in the middle of the pack towards the bottom. And that's where I think some of this context matters. I'm glad Link brought him up because there are some guys that are worth looking at if you've been tracking them and you've been watching how they've been actually playing. Because I was anti-Knapp a few weeks ago and we were talking about him because I'm like, his approach sucks right now. And then, it's fixed itself. It's funny when you were really go to bat against a guy, you pay attention. Because it's like this guy is fixing what's wrong with him right now. And I guess before we go, we got somebody wants to dive a little deeper into Tommy. I think we looked at him a little, but yeah, he's definitely somebody. As I mentioned, I'm going to bet him to win, which feels insane considering my relationship with Tommy Fleetwood over the last few years. But yeah, he is someone who's going to model well, especially if you're using a sample size of 6 months to a year, maybe even longer, and all the stuff that plays well here. He's been pretty elite par 5 scorer. He's a good ball striker. The putting's not bad. There's just not a lot of weakness in his game. He's definitely, if you want to say Scottie and Rory are a tier of their own, he's absolutely near the head of that next tier. And
correct.
He's just a weird guy to bet because I don't know, like it's funny because I used to post pictures of Frank from Shameless, William H. Macy. It's like whenever Tommy did something bad, because it's like, this is the same guy. This is a homeless, wino from Chicago. But it's funny because like I picture him as that. I picture him as the other William H. Macy, the cooler, like the sad sack, can't get it done. He's always got that look in his face, but he's a winner now. He's got everything. And as we mentioned, sometimes guys just don't win events because golf is hard. And you can go out there and put out the best round of your life. Somebody's 5% better. Congrats, you got third. Nobody's going to remember that.
Yeah, this is a metric that I think relying on more than anything. This is just looking at the last 18 months, long and very long golf courses, difficult to very difficult scoring conditions, what we would call an anchor stat, right? And he's third. This is to your point, Scottie, Rory, Tommy, in this stretch of just high level, what matters here. And again, you look at some really strong names in here, some guys that have strong course history. This is, Ludwig's here, Connor's here, Henley, your defending champ. Keegan's not playing well at all. His course history here is excellent. So, Harris English plays well on long golf courses.
Keegan's the guilt.
Yeah.
Over Bethpage.
Irish Catholic.
They did that interview. Didn't ask it. Just talked about President's Cups. What are we doing, guys?
I know.
Keegan will play himself into form by the time we get to summer. I think he's a good golfer. He's been a great golfer the last couple of years.
Another, I think, interesting DFS play, because I think people will look at the recent form. But again, there's some nice stuff here. So yeah, Tommy, I get it. There's some of the more recent.
If you want to save Scottie and Rory for majors or next week, Tommy is absolutely my third choice for DF or one and done. Like I'd have him ahead of Colin. I'd have him ahead of Xander. I've had him ahead of Fitzpatrick.
I'm probably using one, like Scottie, Rory, Tommy tier. I think get two of the next 3 weeks, to the next 2 weeks, right? Yeah. They get for me Bay Hill and Sawgrass. That I think that's how you get it done. I think a lot of people want to just think, like you said, naturally, I would need to save Scottie and Rory for majors. And like technically from a prize pool standpoint, Players is the
now that we have this, it's different than 5 years ago. The signature events are big money, guys.
Correct.
They are majors. You have 12 majors essentially because of the 2 playoff events are huge money. The Players is big money. Joshua asked if anything for Puerto Rico. Nothing yet. I'm going to dive into that this afternoon. I know if you go on the site, Pat Mayo has an article or 2 up, and he did dig into Puerto Rico a little bit. I haven't had a chance yet. I will be betting it. I love betting the Altfield events. I think there's a few names that are probably going to stick out. I will build a model for that, and I'll have it up on the site. Castillo. Yeah, people were mad. I saw some comments online about the pronunciation. Tagalog or whatever it is. He's like Filipino. It's not every L is soft, guys, just because it looks like it's a Latin name.
Yeah, he modeled well for me last week. I think I had him in my top 10 of my model, and then didn't really give him any consideration. So felt good about made a note, like the PGA National model is solid. Spit out some guys that were very much in contention. Obviously landed on Nico as well. You can obviously model and do different stuff here at Puerto Rico if you want.
Yeah, we have both fields in the rabbit hole. If you want to make a Puerto Rico model, like I said, I'm going to. You absolutely can, and pull up that field. Take a look at what you think matters there. Comp courses would be all the other terrible resort courses, Mexico, Bermuda, etc. I have a pre-built model I use for that sort of thing, where I have like a resort course model that I pull up. Oh, Christ, I use it for some of the swing season stuff. I used it for Jackson, Mississippi, some of the similarities, and it's going to pull up some of this, some of the names I like to bet. But Ackroat's interesting. I think some people are going to be on him. Seamus is a guy I've been circling around for about a month here, and then Eric Cole that high. That's interesting.
Yeah, smallest sample. I bet Michael Brennan. Just staying with the brands.
He's our guy. We'd love him.
Driver matters, I think, here a little bit.
Well, and that's the thing, too. If you want to just bet Dunlap at a pretty big price and just assume he keeps it straight, he's probably scoring, man.
Yeah. Yeah, don't hate
Jimmy
that.
Stangs, yeah. We'll see. Stangs can be a little hit or miss.
Yeah, this thing. Celinda makes some sense, I guess. The Hoygards, those are.
I think that might be a soft L. Isaiah
Sainda. That makes sense.
I'm not super sure. Either way. Oh yeah, if you guys have anything that we missed, leave it in the comments. Try to answer those. Find us on Twitter. Find us in the Discord if you're a member. If you're not, you can try it out. $10 for the first month. That's a pretty good deal. Promo code Noonan. I don't remember it.
New subscribers, BSG26.
BSG 26.
Yep.
$10 for your first month, which is a pretty good deal. Like I said, if you haven't yet, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. That all helps. Appreciate your really great questions in the comments today. You guys have a good one. Good luck this week. And like I said, I'll try to jot some Puerto Rico notes together this afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.
See you.